Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO, President, and co-founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, and I'm your host today for this exciting edition of La Token VCTV and the Founders Report with Gary Fowler. Yes, the Founders Report with Gary Fowler. So today we have an incredible guest all the way from South Africa. Johan has an interesting background, biokineticist. And by the way, the first person I've ever heard is a biokineticist, so really intrigued about it. Interesting company's executive director of Metasize in South Africa. Entrepreneur, making our lives a bit better, shaping the way we live. And by the way, he loves rugby. So with that, I'd like to bring Johan on. Hi, Johan. How are you today?
Hi, Gary. Nice to be with you. Thank you to spending time with you.
So tell me a little bit about it. So, what made you get into, I know when you got your degree in biokinetics, but why did you do that? What made you decide to get into that area?
It's a really interesting story. It actually started in high school. I was, as you know, a big rugby player, and I was actually on the rugby field and trying to get fit. And my body build is a bit different than the normal athletes like you get in the NFL. And I just struggled to get fit. So I went to my coaches back in the day and I asked them, listen, what do I need to do? I'm putting all the effort in, but my body is just not responding. And they had this old school army type of answers. Listen, you just need to eat less and train harder. And I realized that they didn't also actually have a clue because they're just a school teacher. So then the more I tried it, it's a long story, but I just decided I want to understand this. So I told my dad that I'm going to enroll myself into a course, but I actually didn't know what to study. So I first wanted to study physiotherapy, to study the physiological side of the human body. And then I stumbled upon biokinetics. Now, biokinetics is a unique healthcare profession. It's actually in South Africa, we're the only country that started a medical profession that's specializing in exercise physiology. And in the 1980s, the South African government, with their vision, they realized that in the future, they will need a medical profession that's specializing in clinical exercise physiology. So as a youngster, I just enrolled myself at Stellenbosch University, and the first morning I just stumbled into the head of the department's office. But I just need to sketch the picture here for you. So when I got to university, normally it's all this beautiful looking people going studying it, all the athletes. And here I was, this big guy. I just did not fit in, and everyone was looking at me. And I walked into my professor's office and I asked him, listen, I want to study biokinetics. What do I need to do? And he was a bit taken aback, and he told me, listen, just to get into the class, there's 400 individuals that's in the class. We can only pick 15 out of the 400. So typical first year, I just told him, listen, I'm already in, so you can only pick 14. So that typical first year. And I just actually asked him to teach me everything he knows. And we started the bond. But looking back, I always tell people, out of a lack of knowledge, I sometimes regret asking, teach me everything you know, because I didn't realize back then how much he knew. And he's like a second father to me. And he told me, okay, I'm going to teach you what the future of medicine is. And that's basically where Metasize started, looking back.
Wow. And so what's it like, by the way? So you're in Cape Town. What's it like in Cape Town? How is it?
Well, it's an awesome place. I mean, we're at the sea. We've got some beautiful wines. I don't know if you like some wine.
Yeah, no, you guys have incredible wines.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful countryside with lots of mountains, at the sea, at the coast, lots of fishing, it's a metropolitan city. So you name it, we've got it. I mean, it's a massive tourist attraction, Table Mountain. I was born in Cape Town, so we lived in Wynberg, and it's at the back of the mountain. It's a beautiful place.
Like wines, like Wynberg is like wines?
Exactly, Wynberg. It's a suburb. It's a suburb in Cape Town.
And how was it growing up? I mean, what did you do for fun?
a la sport. So I actually grew up in the Free State, in the central part of South Africa. I was just born in Cape Town, but in Bloem, it's a place called Bloemfontein, and there's not a lot to do. So
what's a Free State? What does that mean?
it's the province. So that it's actually it's a farming community in the middle of South Africa. And I don't know if you know the history of the Anglo-Boer War back in the day between South Africa and the British. And that was where the war was massive 100 years ago. So there's not a lot to do. It's extremely cold in the winter and extremely hot in summer. So as a child, the only thing you could do was basically participate in sport. So the Free State is really a massive sporting hub for South Africa.
Wow. That's amazing. And how was it growing up there? So what did you do? Did you have mountains to go sledding and tobogganing, or what did you do in the wintertime?
No, well, we played rugby. I promise you, we at school time in the afternoons, we practiced for 2-3 hours in the afternoon. Saturdays we played rugby, big matches, massive matches the whole day. Mm-hmm. And Sunday you would just recuperate, go to church, and family time. Very.
Do you go out into the bush? Do you go out into the bush? Do you go out, like, how far is it to these reserves that are there from where you are in South Africa?
So I'm actually going hunting now to the Eastern Cape. We actually hunting kudu and springbuck. I don't know if you know that type of antelope.
I know springbuck, but I don't know what springbuck.
Oh, it's a beautiful antelope. So there's lots of guys from the USA coming to hunt, especially kudu and gemsbuck. I love the bush. To spend some time in the bush and hunting, and typical South African.
Is it wild out there?
Yeah, it's last time we went out there, there was a roaming buffalo walking around, and we just said, right, let's just carry on, and we're looking out for the buffalo. So it's quite wild.
No kidding. And do they have lions out there too, Johan?
Yeah, so that farm actually, where we go hunting next door, they're actually breeding lions. So yeah.
And so they're breeding lions, but I hope you're not in the place where they're breeding them.
No, so it's quite, but you can actually hear the lions. So when you're sleeping in the evening, you can actually hear the lions because it's dead quiet.
That's amazing, man. That must be really cool. Now, do they have like chimpanzees and stuff out there, or not? Is it
lots of baboons? Massive, especially here in Cape Town as well. Lots of baboons.
Really?
Yeah. So where my parents live in Pringle Bay, it's a little village outside of Cape Town, and our house is actually baboon proofed. You wouldn't believe it. You have to put like burglar proof, but it's specifically made for the baboons so that the little ones can't come in.
Well, how do they get in your house?
Well, they are domesticated. You would not believe it. They know exactly how to open the door, how to open the window. You've got to baboon-proof your house there where my parents live. It's
my God, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And are they nasty, those baboons? Will they bite you?
Yeah. So it's becoming now at this stage, especially for young babies and women. The baboons are so used to humans now, so it's actually becoming a bit of a safety issue now. So it's a bit of an issue.
How do you scare them off? What's the deal when you see a baboon? Well, how do you get rid of it?
You just make a lot of noise, and you just make yourself as big as possible.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. Now, do you walk out of your house at night and there's baboons hanging out there by your house?
Yeah, normally. So actually, in our house, they know by now that they shouldn't come near us because of over the 20 years, we've actually, they're quite clever, you know. They know exactly which houses are easy targets, and our house is not an easy target. So they know exactly where to go, where there's lots of food available, etc.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, what do you do if they come up to you? What do you do to a baboon? How do you get a baboon away from you?
Oh, well, you just have to make a lot of noise and just be dominant. So if you're not dominant, they will just ignore you. So yeah.
And do you take, like, we have I know here we have boat horns, and you take the boat horn with you if you have
so because it's a big conservation issue, you can't actually shoot the baboons here, but I'm live on air now. So they're on the farm. I probably shouldn't say it, but they are quite a pest because they farm of sheep, and the baboons will actually kill the little lambs.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a massive problem.
Wow. That's
So they'll hunt the baboons.
oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. That's amazing. And so, what
Oh,
about?
you should come to South Africa. It's proper living here.
Yeah, I bet that sounds. What about like gorillas and stuff like that? Do you have
No,
those?
we don't have any gorillas. That's purely in the Amazon or up. We don't have any gorillas here.
Huh, interesting. All right, that's great. No, I appreciate it. So, in terms of so you did your internship at the Victor Hendricks Biokinetics.
Yes.
So what happened there? What made you decide to keep on?
That's a small. So initially, when I studied biokinetics, I actually just wanted to go into sport because of my background in sport. So that was a practice in a small town in the Western Cape that they focus specifically on the provincial rugby side. And I got a lot of experience there working with athletes. And working that year, I realized that I'm limiting myself working only with an athlete. And that's when I realized after my internship year, I need to broaden my spectrum to more chronic disease management. Long story short, I started working. I actually worked in a local gym that's quite well known. It's called Virgin Active. They've got chains across the globe. And I worked there for 10 years, and I was in charge of the medical or the clinical management of a facility of over 10,000 members.
Wow.
So there I worked a lot with high-risk individuals. That's, for instance, went for cardiovascular bypass surgery, came back to gym, and they want to start exercising again to just manage them. But over the 10 years, I realized that the global healthcare system does not really have any infrastructure available for the amount of. So I'm going to talk a bit technical now, but it's more we need to measure how much oxygen the body is using and how much carbon dioxide the body is producing. So if you can't measure that, you don't know what's the right intensity anyone can train at. So then after 10 years, I just realized, listen, if I'm not going to do this, no one is going to do it. And then I phoned my professor. I said, listen, we need to do something. And he actually told me, you are crazy. No one has ever done it really before, so don't do it. And he told me, give me 48 hours. He phoned me after 48 hours, and he told me I need to come to his house. And I went, and when I got there, he got his whole library that over 50 years, he actually assembled all the literature. Because it's nothing new, but no one did it, actually. No one created a company where you can actually provide it to the public. Mm-hmm. And he said, right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. And so I studied for 7 years. I'm not kidding. I typed the books literally over onto my computer to create a database. Yeah. Because I realized that if it's all good and well, it's in a book, but no one can use it. So then I actually, for 7 years, I typed it over word for word. And out of that, I actually got involved or got introduced to Prof. Larry Dursty. And he's from your country in South Carolina. And like a youngster, I just sent him a random email. Said, listen, I would like to know if I can chat with you. And 3 days later, I received an email and he said, listen, he's coming to South Africa. He would like to spend time with me. And we spent a week together. I took him to my parents, so they become really good friends.
Wow, that's great.
And I said, listen, he actually asked me, can I also actually get involved? Because he's the global expert, but there's not really a platform for him, like a company, where you can actually provide a point of sale for this.
Right.
So I said, please come. And so then we started from scratch. And I actually realized that we first need to create a cloud-based platform. So we created Medisize Cloud. I actually built it from scratch. I went to an engineer. Luckily, I did all the literature reviews, so I knew exactly what's the latest stuff. Prof. Larry gave me the latest stuff from America. He wrote it. And we created a cloud-based platform. And from there, I got some funding where we could establish the only, it's called a cardiometabolic facility. Now, it's the latest stuff from Germany. It is mind-boggling. The type of AI that we have available, where we can measure how much oxygen and carbon dioxide each cell is producing or using per breath.
Wow.
On cellular level, from rest to maximal exertion. And we're covering the whole spectrum of medicine, even they call it perioperative care. So when you go in for surgery, the anesthesiologist and the surgeon is in need of a risk analysis. And the reality is I own the only perioperative facility currently in Africa.
Wow. And how big is your facility?
No, it's so we've got there's lots of modules. So the facility is about 10 meters by 10 meters. Mm-hmm. We've got treadmills, we've got cycling ergometers, and also all the software where we can then measure. So you actually have a full ECG on with a mask on, and all that data is then captured. And then we have various modules. For instance, we have a resting module where we can have the resting metabolism.
Yeah.
We've got, it's called spirometry, a lung function test.
Yeah.
Then the full cardiometabolic assessment during exercise.
Yeah.
Then there's specific modules like preoperative assessments and performance assessments and exercise schedules, you name it. And yeah, so then we're just uploading it onto the cloud-based system, and we're giving this information to the doctors and the insurance companies.
No, that's great. So how's your business now?
You know what's really interesting? We actually got a bit of media attention. We were now on a few programs on national television in South Africa. And wow, since that,
Johan, that's great.
Yeah, so since that happened, I mean, patients were flying out of literally every corner of South Africa.
Wow.
Last week, I had a medical doctor. She brought a 15-year-old son. She's literally, if you drive by car, it's probably 20 hours drive from Cape Town.
Oh, my God.
She flew down. She's on a farm, up country. Her husband saw it on television and said, listen, our son is in need of this. And they took him out of school, flew him down, did the assessment, flew back. Last week, I had probably 6 or 7 patients that flew down just for that.
Wow, that's well, the word's getting out.
Yeah, definitely. And tomorrow morning, I'm flying out to Windhoek in Namibia. Mm-hmm. We've got lots of actually potential there where they want us to set up another Medisize facility in Windhoek in the hospital.
Wow.
And actually, the most exciting part, Stellenbosch University, for everyone out there, I would like to share this, because if you have knowledge and if you can add value, then just go with it. Because what happened with me last year, I sent the new dean of the medical faculty of Stellenbosch University. I just sent a random LinkedIn message. She's a world-renowned surgeon herself. Mm-hmm. And I told her I would like to speak with her because we've got this facility, and as a surgeon, she would benefit from it. Mm-hmm. And immediately, she sent me a message back from LinkedIn, and she said she would like to speak with me. And long story short, she actually came out. I mean, she's a world-renowned surgeon out of Cape Town, came for an assessment herself to see what it's about. And now we are going into Tygerberg Hospital, the academic hospital of Stellenbosch University, under the Department of Anesthesiology and Critical Care, where we are establishing the first and only perioperative research unit in Africa.
Wow, that's great. That's going to make you happy.
Yeah, so now I'm quite excited. I'm actually, we are now moving, I think in August, moving across there.
So are you making revenue today?
Yes.
That's good.
We are. So that's I actually started 1st of June 2020 in the middle of a COVID lockdown. I probably had one of the biggest challenges. I had to convince medicine and patients that you need to try a new way of thinking in medicine in middle of lockdown. And through that, our revenue actually grew over 3 years now, 111%.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So yeah, we had our challenges, but I just put my head down and just worked through it.
Well, it sounds like you did a good, just like doing rugby, right? You just got to go through it.
Yeah, I must say, there's a lot of intellect. It sounds probably to the viewers out there, there's a lot of brawn now because I'm a rugby player, but I'm not. There was a lot of hard work and a lot of intellect. I mean, we developed new AI. The algorithms that we're currently using is globally needed for the current health challenges. Actually, the World Health Organization just published a new report. I've got it here on my phone because it's specifically the trends for technology for healthcare. And they stated there that they need an artificial intelligence based platform for assisted clinical reasoning.
Yeah.
And that's actually exactly what Medisize Cloud is. So, on behold, we actually built it without realizing we built it.
Wow, that's great. Well, it sounds like you got some big opportunities there. How does this revenue look this year? How are you going to do compared to last year?
So we are really excited because there's lots of companies starting now that want to give us contracts as a service provider, where we can service all their clients.
Yeah.
So our revenue is starting to I can't say exponentially, but it's definitely, if you're going to our balance sheets, it's really starting to create some traction. So I'm really excited.
That's great. How many employees do you have?
Well, at this stage, we only have two. But now that we are moving across to, just to paint a picture, we're moving across to Stellenbosch University. There, I will need to bring in two more individuals, which are already trained. In Windhoek, we've got 4 clinical practices that are brought in a few guys that we also want to train. We've got potential of actually a mine. Anglo American is a mine, a massive mine in the world. They requested information for us potentially doing their occupational health medical surveillance at the mines. So
that's great. That's like a big contract.
Yeah. So there's lots of big contracts in the pipeline. Actually, through your company, GSD Labs, I met someone, and they are interested to open up a facility in New York now.
Wow, that's
so yeah, there's definitely some traction. So I'm really excited.
Well, you're doing a great job. So we're coming up. We got 5 minutes left, a little over 5 minutes. So what are your closing thoughts and how do people get a hold of you?
My closing thoughts is people out there need to realize that medicine is changing. Currently, medicine, the old school way, they only have surgery or pharmacology as intervention options. But people don't realize how you can actually use exercise, physical exercise, as an intervention yourself. That's actually really cost effective because as soon as you know what your sweet spot, we call it the sweet spot, where your body will optimize during stress, you can actually use exercise as medicine. The beauty is people across the globe can reach us now through Medisize Cloud, and they can create their own profile where we can do a screening and a pre-exercise evaluation and understand their risk profile completely and refer that individual wherever they are to their doctor and just give all that information to their doctor and request specific assessments. And that really makes us excited. So they can go to our website is medisizesa.co.za and they can just click there and enroll in our program. And they can create their own profile. As soon as we get it, we can make contact with them, or they can just send an email to info@medisizesa.co.za. It's as simple as that.
Sounds great. And so, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Email. Email is the best. Or, I mean, we are also on all the social media platforms, so they can just search Medisize or Medisize South Africa. But because we're in the clinical or the medical field, email is the best because everything needs to be recorded. I mean, we're going to ask your medical history, contact details, doctors, etc. So email is the best.
Got it. Well, Johan, I want to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to give us a glimpse of South Africa and more importantly, Medisize, because you're making profound improvements. Yesterday, I was with a guy who's a high net worth individual, and he said, "What's more important, making money or your life longevity?" And of course, living a better quality life through the techniques and technology that you have in Medisize is important because when it all said and done, you need the knowledge of where you are in order to be able to improve. And if you don't know where you are, you can't improve. To my audience out there, thank you so much for spending another episode of the Founders Report with Gary Fowler from GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios. I almost said GSD Presents because that's our other show. But anyhow, thank you very much for attending today. We've got some incredible companies. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with another exciting edition. I'm your host, Gary Fowler. Thank you again. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. Tune in. See you soon. Thanks, Johan. Thanks, Hasmik.